Okay, hi guys, I'm Oliver, and today I'm just going to be talking about the effect that various Lambert solutions have on the generation of porkchop plots for interplanetary trajectories. So before we get into any of that, the concepts I'm going to be using, first is Lambert solution. We all know what this is. It's basically just a solution to the problem proposed by Lambert for solving for a trajectory based on position and time. These solutions are used for determining the trajectory of various bodies, especially spacecraft and interplanetary transfers. And there's plenty of methods that exist for solving Lambert's problem, each with their own benefits and negatives, but I'm going to be looking at three of them here. Next is porkchop plots. We all know what these are. These are simply plots that compare the various parameters at departure and arrival in order to determine the best transfer window between two bodies. An example of one of these is given on the right. This one's only comparing the arrival velocity, but you can add in C3 as well. So now onto the meat of the project. So I wanted to look into three different Lambert solvers, those being Isle-Gooding, universal variables, and Gauss. These were chosen to compare because they're extremely different in how they work and in the methods that they use. The chosen arrival destination was Venus because it has limited trajectory options because it's very close to Earth. Also, there's a very extensive history with flybys of Venus, so it'll be easy to find something to compare it to. Some things I'll be considering in this comparison are runtime robustness, accuracy of the results, and how easy each method is to implement. So for my research, it was necessary to find examples of previous Venus flybys and mostly to choose the dates for departure and arrival, and also get something that I can compare my results to. So this plot on the right was used by the Cassini mission. This plot is around 2010, so it was never actually, this porkchop plot was never actually used, but it was generated for that mission. And this plot is basically just going to be used as a baseline for comparing my other results to. So the Earth departure dates are June 2nd, 2010 to October 30th, 2010. And we arrive at Venus on October 30th, 2010 to April 8th, 2011. So the first method implemented was the Isle-Gooding method. This method was extremely quick, took about 2 seconds, and that's pretty much because this method uses an extremely complicated iterative scheme, but it's very optimized for time and it's super robust. You can see on the example on the right, it generated a plot that was almost an exact match of the Cassini plot, so I can show you that now. If I switch back and forth, you can kind of see that. So this method was extremely accurate and very fast. Next is the universal variables method. This one was extremely slow. Took almost an hour, which is completely unacceptable. So this method is obviously not optimized for time, but it is accurate. It does give very similar results, in fact, pretty much the same results to the Isle-Gooding method. Although this solution does produce good results, it's extremely slow, and that's because it uses a Newton's iterative scheme, which is extremely slow to converge. One advantage of this method, however, is that it doesn't require a user input of a difference between type 1 or type 2 trajectories, which is basically just short and long way. So that could be one advantage, but it's probably not worth it. And last and certainly least is the Gauss method. Although this method is pretty quick at a runtime of only about a minute, the final results are pretty much useless. Much of the plot is blank here because most of the numbers were out of bounds of acceptable solutions, so I was only able to generate about a fifth of the plot that could give any sort of useful information. This inaccuracy is largely due to the fact that the Gauss method uses geometric analysis, and that breaks down for very large differences in the departure and arrival vectors. And it's really not built for these kind of trajectories. It would really only be used for orbit determination of some sort of debris around Earth or something like that. So this method was completely awful, and I would not recommend it. So just a comparison between the three. So the Izzo-Gooding method produced the best overall results, and it definitely had the fastest results, and it was extremely accurate, especially compared to the baseline. And the universal variables method, although it was also very accurate, it's pretty much unbearably slow and should really only be used for very small amounts of data. This method does have the advantage of not having to input the difference between type 1 and type 2, but that's really nothing compared to time. And the Gauss method is obviously the least desirable. It provided the least amount of useful information, and although it runs for a decent amount of time, it was pretty much all for naught. So just the final results here. So for the problem of choosing a method to determine a transfer, the Izzo-Gooding method is the best overall method for this kind of trajectory. And it's very easy to see that various Lambert solutions definitely affect the production of pork-chop plots, both in time to run the simulation and the data that's actually produced. But this is to be expected considering that the different methods use different calculation methods and they work to optimize different things in the problem. The Izzo-Gooding method definitely produces the most convenient results, but further analysis would have to be done comparing other Lambert solutions to make sure that this one was actually the best. And other parameters should probably be compared, such as the actual calculation schemes that are implemented, so that we can cement these results and determine which Lambert solution is best for which kind of trajectories. But in this case, it's pretty clear that Izzo-Gooding is the best for interplanetary trajectories. Overall, however, it's extremely clear that the effect of the solution method chosen necessitates a wise choice in the matter. So you don't want to choose a Lambert solution willy-nilly. You would probably want to choose one that's optimized for the kind of problem that you're looking at. So thanks for listening. I hope it was easy to understand. Probably should have been, since it's stuff that we've all seen before. But yeah, thanks. Have an awesome day.